Hi folks, welcome back to the Hoard. Got this whole beautiful day thing going on. Just finished cutting the grass. Some of you might have figured out by the way my videos were that I've been away for the last several days. Went on a little vacation with my cousin and a friend and my wife, and we took a cruise. We got on the boat in Boston and went up Bar Harbor, Peggy's Cove, Sydney, Quebec, and Montreal. It was a nice cruise. Nobody threw anybody overboard. It was pretty cool. My cousin was riding on a tour bus. She went out to the fort that's just outside of Sydney, and the guy driving the tour bus ran the bus off the road. He kind of hooked onto the shoulder, and the back of the bus, the back wheels got off the shoulder. The front wheel managed to stay on the shoulder, but the back wheels got off the shoulder, and the back of the bus kind of got sucked down this hill. So the nose was aimed up the hill, but the back went down the hill. They were lucky the bus didn't roll over or anything. So that was the big excitement. Well, that, and I guess half the people on the boat got there's a plague that goes around frequently on cruise boats. Folks get diarrhea and upset stomachs and all that kind of stuff. But, you know, being of Italian heritage and having a cast iron constitution, none of us got sick in my party, which is a real good thing. It would kind of not be fun to be on a cruise and spend the whole time in the bathroom and filling up trash cans at the same time. That just would not be a laugh. So anyway, it was a good cruise, and I just want to tell you, out of all the places we went, I think Montreal has to be like one of the greatest cities on earth. If you want to get your freaky on, it's really interesting at the Montreal Museum of Art. They if you guys are familiar with that place outside of Rome that all the people died, Pompeii I guess it's called, where the volcano erupted and the people got gassed and then all covered with dust and silt and so forth. Turns out they dug out a bunch of their art, and these people had this real thing about penises, and there was all kinds of penis art that was in the museum. So that was one little bit of freaky. As we were walking about, we passed a park, and there was, I don't know, 50 people in there doing nude yoga. They were about my age, so no use looking at them in my case. Very little interest in seeing old fat people do yoga. So there's that. It's a lot of freedom up there. I'm not criticizing where anybody lives, and I'm not slamming the United States, but I got to tell you, if you want to do nude yoga in a park, I think in probably not all 50 states, but more than 40 of them, you're going to have trouble with the cops. The cops were floating around, but they didn't bother the people. In one of the big parks in Montreal, I think it's called Montreal Park, actually. They have this thing at 2 o'clock every Sunday. They bang the gong, beat a drum, and petition for the legalization of marijuana. And they all smoke pot and follow the guy beating on the drum. Once again, generally speaking, I'm pretty sure there's statutes, maybe not in all 50 states, but you'd probably get into the high 40 where you wouldn't be allowed to do that either. It was cool. We were down on St. Catherine Street. They had a big fair, bazaar, festival, whatever you want to call it. And everybody was out. I mean, there was people wearing strange hats. There were every kind of couple you could imagine. People walking their dogs and their kids and their significant others, and everybody just kind of got along. Seemed to be very, very happy there. The other thing about Montreal, I have quite a bit of experience with New York City. It's only, I don't know, 75 miles or so for me, so we go there occasionally, every year, every other year. Montreal is not as noisy a city. New York City is just one freaking noisy city. Everything makes noise in New York City. The buses make a lot of noise. The subway makes a lot of noise. The construction makes a lot of noise. The cabs blowing their horns at each other make a lot of noise. The banging of vehicles in and out of potholes and jackhammers. And 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, New York City is a pretty noisy city. Obviously, it depends where you live, but it just seems that my experience with New York, it's a noisy city. Montreal is much quieter, much kinder, much nicer. Like if you were crossing the street, you didn't have a cab try to take you out or anything, or get close to taking you out. They would just stop and look at you as you cross the street. I mean, no middle finger gestures, none of that. So I have to say, I always enjoyed the Canadian Maritimes, Penny's Cove, and that area. And I really, really enjoyed Montreal. Quebec, I mean, was okay. For this particular time, for some reason, Montreal just really suited my fancy much more. It was just a lot of fun. I've been very bandwidth limited. I've been trying to keep up with you guys on the cruise ship, and they have satellite internet. And this is where I sat to do videos for you guys all the time. And I kind of call it sitting by Neptune's butt. I mean, literally. I was looking out the windows. Typically, I was looking out the windows, and that was my view, right? The ship kind of sticks out, and so I would look out the window, and we'd be going forward, and I guess that's it. Huh? I must have not liked it that much. I didn't shoot that many photos, but that's the view out the window. That was when we landed in Montreal, the tent shelter they had us stored in. But so I would look out the window, and I, really wasn't paying attention to what was going on in the cabin. And then there was a distraction, and I looked over, and I said, "Wow, I'm sitting right next to Neptune's butt. Internet out of Neptune's butt." When I first got on the ship, the internet was relatively fast, and you guys might notice earlier in the week there were more comments for me, but then as the week kind of wore on, the comments became less because of the illness on the ship and the crashed bus, and they were having trouble with one of the diesel electric propulsion units. We were running on I think the boat has 5 of them, and we were running on 4. Anyway, as the ship seemed to have more and more trouble with the cruise, the ship itself was burning up a lot of the bandwidth, a lot of the internet bandwidth between the medical situation and the bus and the buckwheat and and getting that 5th propulsion unit fixed. When you're going against the current on the St. Lawrence River, it was a good-sized boat, right? About 900 passengers, another 500 in crew. You kind of need all the oomph you got to fight the currents. There's quite a bit of water gushing down the old St. Lawrence. So with that engine down, it was causing them quite a bit of trouble. It took them a little over a day to fix it. They claimed it was a maintenance issue, which means probably it had water in the fuel. And but they seemed very concerned about that and a few other things. So anyway, Harvey's back, and I got to get back on some of these projects. It's been a few days. The house survived my absence, right? Nothing too major happened. I had a few people checking on it, and my son stayed here a bunch of the nights we were away, so from a security point of view, there wasn't an issue. One of the people who checks on it, my buddy Chuck, is typically armed. So actually, I think everybody who was checking on the house was packing. So they didn't need to shoot anybody. The only thing I noticed was this ladder was moved, and you could tell it was moved because I cut the grass here, and I was able to cut here last time without the ladder being in the way, and this time it was. So somebody fussed around with the ladder a little bit, but other than that, I really didn't notice anything. None of the hoard has disappeared. I had everybody who watched the house, I walked them around before they started watching, and I had them walk around every day and check everything to make sure nothing disappeared, and the place looks intact, which is good. So I cut the grass, and I got the house all fired back up again. The well, the air conditioning, all that junk is all running. Everything's back up to par. So now I could get back to playing with some toys. And I'm going to start out with the go-kart there. I'm going to pull the head off, see what's going on, see why it has no compression. If I'm lucky, it'll be like a U-Dizzy project. U-Dizzy had a engine he got on a Coleman mini bike that it turns out for some reason the rings were stuck, and I think that's a good possibility. To me, it makes a lot of sense that if somebody was running that go-kart hard, especially if they're running it in the higher gears, not going fast enough, and it was hot out, makes sense that they might have overheated the engine and kind of cooked the rings a little bit. So I'm hoping that gets that running. I was mentioned to you guys that I had a deal cooking for another one of those. Unfortunately, it fell through. I just have to tell you, whenever anybody has a deal cooking, the deal isn't closed until, you bring whatever you're bringing or to the other person, be it cash or be it an object, and the object comes to home. So, fortunately, that fell through. But there's some other deals cooking, so we're all good. We're all good, right? As long as the deals are cooking, Harvey's happy. Makes my life a little bit more interesting. I guess that's about it. So we'll be back to normal programming. So let's hope for the best, hope for good weather, and I hope everything's good with everyone out there. Obviously, I have a lot of videos to catch up on. I apologize once again. The internet was costing me close to 40 cents a minute, and it was slow, and really it couldn't keep up with buffering. So I really couldn't watch any videos, especially as the week wore on. I really couldn't watch any videos, so sorry about that. I have a lot to catch up on, obviously. So if anybody's got anything out there they want me to see right away, just ping me and say, hey Harvey, swing on by and check this out, and I will. I'll get to everybody eventually, but it's probably going to take me a little while. I'm a little ways back. I've been band with limited for over a week now, so you guys could realize how far behind I am on everything. Alright folks, I want to thank you all for watching and commenting and subscribing. Remember, keep your feet down, keep your head up, and please get out there and enjoy all your days. Bye now.